So this is what I call a micro adventure. I'm at Woodbridge on the River Deben, and I'm just launching out in my canoe to paddle down the river as far as Felixstowe Ferry. It's 8 miles down the river, and I'm launching just about at high tide, so that as the tide turns and sweeps down the river, it'll take me with it. There's the famous tide mill at Woodbridge. And I paddle around the corner where there's quite a few houseboats. Not all that easy to launch in Woodbridge. There is not an abundance of public slipways, but that one by the tide mill seemed to be the best. There goes the safety rib from the sailing club, and that's the sailing club, and there's a rowing club a bit further back as well, just past the jetty where the river trips go from. And I had a really interesting river trip with a captain called John yesterday, who told me all kinds of things about the river that I didn't know, and he's been a pilot up and down the east coast for the last 40 years. So a really interesting chap to talk to. So as we pull away from Woodbridge, we're leaving the last of the moorings, and the wind today is southwesterly and quite strong, so I've tucked myself under the right hand bank going downstream, because that will give a bit of protection from the wind. This bit here is a bit protected too. There's a hill in front of me, and John said yesterday that the pilots used to wait up on that hill, and as they saw a boat coming up the river, they would run down, rush out in their little gigs to the boat, and the first one out would get the job. I've gone across to the other side of the river because there's a little cut that's been made through the marshes, and here's an egret. Look, quite a brave egret, because I'm just ghosting up to him, and there he goes, but he only goes about 20 yards and lands again. There's some nice boats down this river. That one's called Wild Goose, and this one's beautiful, but wooden boats, there's a lot of maintenance involved. Nice Mariner 4-stroke outboard engine. And then just paddling gently along. This boat I bought for £60 off Facebook, and it's a bit short and fat. Don't say unlike yourself. It doesn't go very fast, but if you just pedal steadily, you can do maybe 2-3 miles an hour. It will go faster, but it takes about twice as much effort to make it go 1 mile an hour faster. Here's a chap coming up the river. Where's your sails? Put your sails up. Beautiful broad reach all the way into Woodbridge. And now I'm approaching Woldingfield. Woldingfield is about 3 miles down the river from Woodbridge, and it's taken me an hour to get here. I've gone over by the moorings. It's a lovely little place. There's a famous pub called the Maybush. Here's a river cruiser. I think they do trips up and down the river from Woodbridge, looks like it. And I know Steve Winkle from the really excellent Baptist church at Woldingfield. This is the first person I've seen sailing on the river, and it's a beautiful August day, and that was the first sail on a wayfarer. I have stopped paddling so you can see how fast I'm being swept down by the outgoing tide. So I reckon I'm getting about 1 mile an hour for free. That's a pretty boat. We had a little chat and a friendly word. So I reckon I'm getting about 1 mile an hour for free as I go down the river. So here's a deserted bit of river. I couldn't see hardly anything that was man-made through here. Couldn't hear any man-made noises. It's just the wind and the waves and the birds. And it was just beautiful. Again, tucked in under the right-hand bank to keep away from the wind. And as I went down one of these corners, not this one, there was a couple of cormorants sitting there, and I got within about 30 feet of them before they saw me and I saw them, and they took off. Now the river meanders a little bit, and when it turns and faces southwesterly, you're dead into the wind, so it gets a bit rougher. Sorry, I got water on the lens there and it's a bit atmospheric. Saldarago. Okay, and there's a wooden one that needs a bit of work. I've rubbed a few boats right back to the bare timber and painted them again. It's a labour of love. And now approaching Ramsholt, the famous Ramsholt Arms, a pub on the left-hand bank. That's the Bawdsey side of the river. So leaving Ramsholt, again, you get away from the last of the moorings and there's virtually no sign of human habitation. You can't hear anything. This is heading back into the southwesterly, and so you see it gets a little bit choppier. And then cutting back across to the other side as you get swept to the left. And that's a private jetty. Couldn't quite make out who that is. Might be a water skiing club. And just on the horizon I can see the masts that indicate where Felixstowe Ferry is. So I just took the opportunity again to drift along slowly and appreciate it. That's what these journeys are all about. So 8 miles down the river, it took 2.5 hours, which is 3 and a bit miles an hour. I'm not very good at mental arithmetic, but you can work it out. 3.3, something like that. Lots of boats down at Felixstowe Ferry. And you can just see the houses on the other side, and there is a ferry that goes across for foot passengers, and you can take your bicycle across. I've done that too, from Felixstowe Ferry to the Bawdsey side. Still drifting along, still being carried by the current. Sun's come out a little bit now. That would be quite a sweet little one to take out. Is that 20 foot long? And that's a commercial looking boat. I don't know what port RX is. And you can see the buildings behind there that are on the Felixstowe Ferry end. And another commercial fisher. I don't know what IH is. Jubilee Joy. So I'm just drifting about, waiting for my lift to arrive, because wonderful Belinda dropped me off at Woodbridge, and then when I was about half an hour away, came down and filmed me coming in at the other end. Thank you, Belinda, for all your help. And then above and beyond the call of duty, she thought she'd turned the camera off, but here she is dragging me up the slipway. Not an easy job.
That's the first time we've done it.
That's great.
So I didn't even get my feet wet from one end to the other.
It's about so much
Beautiful,
you
beautiful day out. Wonderful little micro adventure.